Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of Ranking the Albums. We're going to be talking about the great U.S. metal band called Malice today, and to help me out in that endeavor, we've got in the house Mr. John Gaffney from Lair the Alchemist, Rich Catino from Metal Asylum, Brave Words and Bloody Knuckles, and the Metal Hall of Fame, and our good friend Joe DiBiase, bass player from Liege Lord, formerly of Fate's Warning. What's happening, gentlemen?
How
What's up,
are you,
guys?
fellas?
So,
So,
Don't forget
Malice,
Good
Withering
morning.
Scorn.
what's that, Joe?
I said, don't forget Withering Scorn.
And Withering Scorn, that's right. That's right. You guys, something new coming up soon?
Yeah, we're mixing it right now.
Awesome. Well, that's
yeah,
good to hear. So I'm
yeah.
sure we'll hear more about it in the very, very near future. So we'll have Joe and hopefully some of the other guys in the band on with us when that album comes out. We'll be talking about new music. So more to come on that at a later date. But for today, a band that probably should have been a lot bigger than they were, probably should have had a larger catalog than they do. The band is called Malice, great heavy metal band from here in the U.S. Their first two albums released on Atlantic Records, big time producers, whatever reason, it never translated into sales and acceptance for whatever reason. They went away for quite a few years, got back together with a different lineup, released an album, mostly re-recordings of old classics, plus four new tracks. We're going to include that today. So we only have three albums, so it'll be a fairly quick show, but we do have a lot to talk about here. So we're going to rank them in the order that we like them. So we'll go three, two, and one. We'll start with John. We'll go around the Zoom here. So John, what do you got for your number three in the catalog here?
Okay, as you just mentioned, New Breed of Gods from 2012. This album has eight re-recorded songs and four new songs. So I'm not a fan of re-recordings. I would have been okay if maybe it was a live record with, old songs live, old songs, and maybe a couple new songs live. Like why not many bands do that type of thing. So I might have been okay with it like that, but as it stands, re-recordings almost never work for me because I'm a fan of these 80s records that have this sort of 80s atmosphere and charm to them. So when you try to re-record stuff, it sounds modern and it just doesn't work for me. And out of the four new songs, I didn't really care for Slipping Through the Cracks. It was kind of like a ballad, but I didn't really like the way the vocals were in that one. They had this sort of like exaggerated thing. If I remember, there was like kind of a spoken word type of thing coming in and out of it. I just didn't really care for that. Angel of Light, I thought was okay. It was a little bit of a cliched kind of metal ballad type thing. But Branded was cool. That's just kind of classic, kind of a power metal double bass thing going on through that. And I did really like the title track. It's got that kind of triplet, classic metal triplet chugging riff kind of thing, and some really cool menacing kind of vocals. So I mean, the playing is good, the production is good, and everything, but I just can't rank it any higher when you only got four new songs on it, and two out of the four I'm indifferent towards. So that lands at number three for me. New Breed of Gods, 2012.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, James Rivera, I think I really like him as a singer. He's got one of those unique vocal styles. I am listening to these new songs. I'm almost like kind of, all right, it sounds kind of like Hellstar, right? And I love Hellstar, but it's just a weird choice. I mean, he's just kind of popping up all over the place in more recent years. I think he did a stint in Vicious Rumors as well. So it's like,
I think it was
I
a
don't know.
record. It
Yeah,
was
I
a
mean, I
record.
love him, but it's just I thought he was kind of a strange choice here. I mean, well, we'll get to it when we get to my turn. But Rich, what do you think? What's your number three? I'm sure it's gonna be the same.
It's the same. Had the same comments that John says. But the biggest problem I think is that when you get a new singer that's a classic singer that we know affiliated with another band, you're hearing that band. So when I hear this record, I hear Hellstar and Seven Witches. If you know, he also sang on I think three Seven Witches records.
Yeah.
So given those two styles of Seven Witches and even more later day Hellstar, that's what I keep hearing when I hear this album. So I don't hear Malice. I hear Seven Witches and I hear Hellstar. So that's the biggest problem. He's a great singer, but he's made for those bands, not for this band. Just not a good fit. So easily this is a number three.
Cool. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Joe, how do you feel?
First of all, full disclosure, when you first contacted me about doing this show, and I reread your message, it said three albums. I never knew they had a third album. So I had to do some
We
research.
didn't either. We kind of figured that out as we were going through this. Yeah.
And there's an
Yeah.
EP too, which before he goes, we were just talking about it before that Malice was in a movie, vice versa. They performed in the movie. The song was called "Crazy in the Night," so they have an EP in there somewhere too. I think it was 1988.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to go back, but obviously I don't have a vinyl copy of that to show, but I did check it out on YouTube, and a couple interesting things about it. It was produced by Joe Floyd, who was from the great unheralded band Warrior.
Oh,
It was recorded at Silver Cloud Studios. I know that because we Fates Warning recorded a demo there years and years ago. I think it might have been for Perfect Symmetry or something. So I know Joe Floyd. I love the band Warrior. That's a band that should be talked about
Yeah.
more. I think they only had one album out though, actually, didn't they? Just the one. I'm not sure, but
For sure.
he produced that. So the production is actually really good. And the first track, the title track, I thought was great. And then as I'm looking and I'm reading more, I said, these are all old songs,
mm.
which I thought maybe this isn't the album Pete was talking about. This must be another album somewhere. So no, I figured this is it. I mean, I like the title track. The other three songs, Branded was okay. And like John said, the other two, I could take or leave. And with the remakes, why bother? I didn't get it. I mean, they sound okay. It's interesting to hear James sing them. James is a great singer, but it's not something I'll ever going to seek out on vinyl any day soon. So,
Yeah, I kind of feel the same. So it's good for what it is. I don't mind the new tracks. I think they're pretty good. Title track is really great. Slipping through the cracks is kind of catchy, but he's got, like we've said, he's got a different vocal style, and I think that a lot of the tone of these new tracks are very similar. You can even tell when you listen to the remakes. There's a darker tone to some of these songs, and I keep hearing Hellstar. He's got to kind of put it in perspective, and Rich probably knows what I'm talking about here. When Tom England started singing for Redemption, right? He's got a very unique vocal style.
Yeah.
Redemption formerly had Ray Alder or Fates Warning singing
Yeah.
for them. So all of a sudden you bring in Tom England and it doesn't sound like Redemption anymore to me.
You're
Like,
better off getting an unknown.
right. It sounds like Evergrey, right?
Yeah.
So here I'm listening to this and this sounds almost like a Hellstar album, which
Later Hellstar.
later
Like
Hellstar, which
right
nothing,
where
there's
it's
nothing
more,
wrong with that, but
nothing,
it
it's
doesn't,
great, but that's Hellstar. Yeah.
right. It doesn't necessarily sound like
Yeah.
a Malice album to me. The remakes are they're fine. They're worth a listen or two. I'm going to want to go back to the originals. That's just me. But you couldn't get two singers that are more different from each other. But I like the new tracks. I think they're good. I would have rather heard a whole album of this, or even like John's idea, put out a live album and throw a couple extra tracks in there or whatever. It's fine. But this was already what, 13 years ago.
Yeah.
And we lost one of the guitar players, right? Who passed away from brain cancer a couple of years back. So I don't know if we're ever going to see anything from this band again. They did another in 2020. They did like a 12-inch where they did a remake of "Rockin' with You," which is the first song from their first album. There was nothing else new on there. That was already 5 years ago, so I would assume that that's probably it for the band. But yeah, this is okay for what it is. I'm happy to have it, and like I said, I like the newer tracks on here, but. Classic Malice, probably not. So if you're watching this episode and you have never investigated this band, the first two albums are really where you want to spend your time with.
Yeah.
So, and we'll start talking about them now. I'll turn it back to John for his number two.
Wait, hold on. Oh, John, before you go, Pete, that song that they sang, the new song, the singer who was on that song, the re-record of "Rockin' with You."
Oh, I think it was James as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember seeing anybody different listed there. So that again, that was a few years back. So I'll double check.
Okay.
While John's going, I'll double check that though.
All right. For number two for me is from 1987, License to Kill. I like the album opener. I also think the production on this one was a little thicker than the first record. Sounded like there was a little bit more meat to. Yeah, unfortunately, I have the next two on vinyl. I'm not at my normal layer location, and I forgot to bring them with me. But yeah, so the opener is cool. Sinister Double. Love the chugging, riff thing going on there. I absolutely loved Against the Empire. That is just awesome classic metal. It's got some great bass playing. Love the sci-fi lyric bent to it. Reminds me of like a slightly progressive, like a Crimson Glory, Queensryche type thing. I wish they had pursued this sound more. Like this song and Circle of Fire. I loved those two. I love the vocal melody and Circle of Fire that goes over those hanging chords. The great super high vocals in the chorus. Loved those two songs. Loved the first song. I thought Murder was pretty cool. Reminded me, gave me a little bit of a Lizzie Borden feel to it. Breathing Down Your Neck had a pretty cool George Lynch style kind of main riff to it. But then I didn't really like the title track and Chain Gang Woman. Those to me, first of all, that title makes me laugh, right? It's a total 80s, like, 80s thing. But they just kind of had, and this is the problem for me with this band on these first two records. There's moments that I'm like with Against the Empire, that it's like, wow. But then there's other things that sound a little too LA for me, a little too kind of rock, just hard rock, LA sounding. And I just wish that they had pursued more of this Against the Empire vibe or Circle of Fire vibe. This just classic metal, slightly progressive, you know, call it early power metal if you want, interesting lyrics. And then we get Chain Gang Woman, and it's just kind of like, it's just like sort of drags it down slightly for me. So that's what pushes this into the number two slot for me. But I like the production. I love the vocals. Great playing all across it. It's just unfortunately there's those two songs that sort of drag it in that direction for me.
Yeah, I think Max Norman did a great job producing this album. It's pretty massive sounding. Both
Yeah.
the first two albums sound great to me. I think, they had worked with some great producers here. All right, Rich, over to you.
All right, number two is In the Beginning for me. I think this one, for me, some of these songs sound like they're still a work in progress. I think they're better on License to Kill. I think there's better direction, I think, on License to Kill, but these are still great. Great album. It's a little more metal than the second one. I mean, the second one's metal, obviously, too, but this is a little bit not as polished as the second one. Still good. Still enjoy it a lot. Rockin' with You, I feel like, does that sound like the beat? It's kind of like not with the riffs. It's like dragging or something. Something with the beat is off for me. Do you guys think that as an opener too?
And I never noticed myself.
It seems like
I
it's like it's
that's
behind it's behind the rest of the rhythm for me.
Yeah, they're trying to do this like this is the same thing that I just mentioned with License to Kill. It's like every now and then they do these like LA blues rock or something
Uh,
that just 80s LA Sunset Strip blues rock or something that it just
yeah.
it doesn't groove. I
It
mean,
doesn't groove for me, and it's
yeah,
a
this
weird
is not,
opener.
yeah, so it's sort of
Yeah.
just, you're right. I know
Yeah.
what you mean.
I think Air Attack would have been better. That would have been a good opener. I wrote that one down for the opener. They should have switched them. That should have been the first song. And the singer, James Neal, sounds a lot like Halford on this album, right? Not as much on License to Kill, but on the first one, I hear a lot
Well, he
of
totally does the
Halford.
Halford thing. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So, aside from those, Stellar Master, Tower Dealer, Hellrider is like one of my favorites there. Great song. Great riffing going on there. The Unwanted, No Haven for the Raven. What a great title that is. So yeah, this lands on my number two for those reasons.
And I was checking out some stuff here. So, Rich, you talked a bit earlier about the stuff on the soundtrack to that film. So they
Yeah,
put
vice versa.
Yeah, they put out a compilation in 2008 called The Rare and Unreleased, and it looks like all of those are included on there, plus some other stuff that didn't make the first two albums and some like
Okay.
alternate versions of stuff that did make the first two albums. But it is rare. If you
It
go on
is.
Discogs to try and get a copy of it, it's like you're talking like $100 plus for a CD. So it's like it's out there, but you got
So those four songs on Crazy in the Night are on this compilation you're talking about.
yes, yes.
Okay. Hopefully they'll reissue it.
And this Rockin' with You that I was talking about, I think that's also a
Re-record?
compilation which came
Oh
out in
yeah.
2020 on Warner Music Group. I'm not really sure who plays on it or whether it's just straight up. I mean, it's all songs from the first two albums. So,
Huh.
so I'm not really sure what the deal is with this, but I don't
Didn't
see.
even know that came out because if you go to Encyclopedia Metallium, it's not
Yeah.
even listed. It's not even updated listed there.
I know. If you go on Apple Music is showing it.
Yeah.
And it's listed on Wikipedia, but it's got no info on it. So I'm not
Okay.
I think it's just got to be a compilation.
Right.
It's all the same shit. It's Circle of Fire, Christine, Hellrider, Murder, Breathing Down Your Neck,
Yeah.
Stellar Masters,
Mm.
Vigilante, Rockin' With You. It's all the same stuff. So I'm not really sure. It might just be a straight up compilation. So that's all I got there. All right,
And by
cool.
the way, these first two albums were reissued on Rock Candy too,
Yes. Oh
remastered.
yeah. I should be showing those right here. Yeah. These are dynamites. Really good. No bonus tracks, but all
No.
sorts of information on the band and stuff like that. And they sound great. Really, really good.
Yeah.
Cool. Joe, what do you got for number two?
Okay. I mean, really, they're 1A and 1B for me.
Yeah.
I think they both share a lot of the same qualities, and they both share some of the same negative things for me. So I ultimately went with the first record, 3.99 at Festoons.
See that?
Um, and mainly because I think the production is really the main thing that drove me to picking this album. Number two is the production. The second album with Max Norman produced was the production is awesome. So that really was the final thing for me to pick this one. The production's good on this too. It's funny enough, there's two different producers on this album. Michael Wagner produced four songs, maybe five, and then I forget who else.
Ashley Holt.
Yeah, and the production. I mean, I think the Michael Wagner songs sound better produced.
I agree.
Um, but the whole album sounds pretty good as a whole. And then, but like John was saying, I think, or maybe it was Rich, but it doesn't seem cohesive. This album. It sounds like they were trying to find their way. I think a little bit on this album. There's some great songs on it. No Haven for the Raven is just a great song. Got a bit of a Queensryche feel to it, kind of. But I think the main problem with this band on both albums is I think they suffer from an identity crisis, like John was saying. Are they going to be a classic metal Priest type band, or are they going to be an 80s LA quote unquote hair metal band? And I think on both albums, really, the album is kind of split in between those two types of songs. And they weren't sure, or somebody wasn't sure what they wanted to be. I think that really hurt them. Like No Haven for the Raven is a great tune. Some of the more priest sounding songs I find a lot better. Hell Rider, great tune. Um, Gods of Thunder, a great, more classic metal song. But then they go into like Into the Ground. To me, it just sounds like a generic Skid Row song. It's like didn't really go anywhere. And there's a couple of songs like that on here. Squeeze It Dry. I mean, that's just not a great song to me. It's an attempt at LA, 80s metal. So I think that's what really hurt them is that their identity. They didn't know what they wanted to be, and I think that hurt them overall. And the other thing I think that hurt them was Atlantic Records. It's kind of a graveyard for new upcoming bands in a lot of ways. I mean, they they ruined more bands than they broke, I think, back in this day. There's so many good bands that came out of Atlantic and just didn't do anything.
They were signing everybody and doing nothing
Yeah.
with everybody. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the
I
crazy
mean,
thing,
it's a
right?
shame. I mean, they didn't really do anything for him. But overall, it's a good album. I just think it suffers from an identity crisis. But there's some great songs on it. And there's some songs on it. But No Haven for the Ravens, pure classic.
Yeah.
Love that. I always loved that tune. Even Rockin' With You is more of the 80s style, LA style tune. Kind of reminds me of Metal Health. The verses are Quiet Riot, Metal Health. But it's a good tune. But I think the album's kind of too all over the place.
Fair enough. All right, my number two is going to be License to Kill. I love the way this album sounds. Like I mentioned before, I think Max Norman really was the right guy for this band. I mean, it's just got the guitar tone on this album is just massive.
Yeah.
There's loads of crunch all over the place. Vocals are great. There's some killer songs on here. I think Sinister Double is amazing. Against the Empire, just so good. And then Circle of Fire, like John mentioned, just those three tracks to me are the closest the band gets to the intensity of the first album. But this album is definitely more commercial sounding. I mean, it's kind of like what Joe was talking about here. You've got a band that's trying to be classic metal and then trying to do that more commercial, 80s LA type thing. And the title track is totally that. Chain Gang Woman also suffers that. Vigilante, I like the chorus a lot. The rest of the song is kind of plodding. Christine is great. I don't know why they didn't release Christine as a single. That to me, and again, that's kind of hair metally, but it's still pretty cranking. Murder's great. Breathing Down Your Neck is really good. I like this album a lot. Like I said, the guitar tones, the soloing, the riffing is great. Production is great. Playing is great. There's some commercial songs that should have been on MTV, on the radio, but Atlantic just dropped the ball with this band, I think, big time. It's 87. There's even Breathing Down Your Neck to me sounds like could have been on that Whitesnake 87 album. It's got that kind of John Sykes type of guitar tone going on, the riffs, but I remember back in the day, nobody was talking about Malice. So they kind of slipped through the cracks. So that's my number two.
Pete,
So
do you know if any of these songs from the first two albums were video on MTV? I don't
I
think
don't
so.
recall any of them, and I don't remember seeing any of them on
I
YouTube.
don't either.
I'm sure there's got to be, Rich. I mean, there has to be at least one or two, right? You would think.
I don't remember. Let me see. Let's see if I can find something.
There's got to be.
Another question I have is whatever did happen to James Neal? What a great singer he was, and he seemed to fall off the face of the earth after these two albums.
That's a great question. I don't know. I never heard of him anywhere afterwards. Um,
I don't think they had a video,
isn't that
Wow, that's
strange?
shocking.
Atlantic Records, right? Two albums,
right?
big time producers on a major label, and not one video. That's crazy.
They could have actually taken their performance from that movie, vice versa, and turned that into a video, right? With the song. There's your
Yeah,
video there.
yeah, yeah.
But no, didn't have one for MTV, I don't think.
And as far as James Neal is concerned, not much. It looks like he might have sang on an album by a band called Boudreaux. He's listed doing something on a Mr. Big album, but I don't know what that's all about. Maybe he had, I don't know, maybe they on the Raw Like Sushi album, but I don't know if he actually appears on this or whether they did a cover or something. Let me see here. Production manager.
Wait,
So
there
yeah, I think
might
safe to
be,
say he really did nothing after this band.
there might be a video for "Rockin' with You."
You would think, right?
I I'm seeing something on YouTube here, but it seems really low quality. So I don't know if it was ever officially released or what.
I mean, there's plenty of live clips of them now, especially in more recent years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Huh. Too bad if it wasn't.
Yeah, it's very strange. And there's something, Malice, The Art of Letting Go official music video. I don't know what this is all about. Yeah.
Looks like this "Rockin' with You" is a video. I don't remember seeing it though.
So there is a brand new video that came out last year of Malice. The song is The Art of Letting Go, and it's from 2024. I don't know what this is. Um,
Maybe from a live concert they played or something.
no, it's an actual video they shot. They're in the woods, and
Oh,
yeah, it's just I don't know
huh.
what this is all about.
And it's the same Malice. It's kind of a
I
generic
well, that's
name.
that. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Usually,
That's
when you
what.
see some of these old videos, they usually have like MTV logo in the corner or Headbangers Ball or something, but I don't see anything like that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what. I don't even know if if it's the same Malice or not. Let me see. Might not be for all we know.
Not the same logo.
No, I don't
They had a
know.
real cool logo, by the way.
Oh yeah, I love the logo. Love the logo. So anyway, I'll
No-
keep searching here. So where we're back. John, talk about your number one.
All right, number one is the first album from 1985, In the Beginning. The production is maybe not as thick as the second one, but I like it. It's got a little bit of that 80s, mid 80s vibe that I do like. But as Joe mentioned, as we've all been kind of talking about, There's a couple songs on here that just fall into that LA Sunset Strip blues rock thing that I don't like. Rockin' with You. I mean, what a boring song title. Into the Ground, Squeeze It Dry. I just so I no, those songs didn't work for me. But Air Attack is fantastic. Love the metal vibe on that. Love the line Riding on the Wings of Darkness. I mean, great stuff. Nice guitar solos. Stellar Masters. I love the aggression of that one, of the main riff, priest-like vocals. I think Joe, or we've all mentioned, the priest sound at moments. Tarot Dealer. See, I think when new bands get signed to big labels right from the beginning, and they have no past history where they can sort of dictate what they're going to do. They come in, and I really think that the label probably says, okay, we're going to sign you, but you got to give us some MTV. You got to give us something that sounds like what's happening on the Sunset Strip right now. So, thus, you get things that are super cool, like Air Attack, Tarot Dealer, right? But then you get Rockin' with You and Squeeze It Dry. You know what I mean? And it's I can't help but think that maybe it's the record label that pressures them to do these type because they just stand out as like they just stand so in stark difference. Like the lyrics are so stupid on some of the songs, but then you get things like Air Attack and Tarot Dealer, Stellar Masters, Hell Rider, another great one. It's got the fast, tight, accept like, fast as a shark type chugging to it, tasty bass fills, a great, great chorus, probably my favorite song on here, No Haven for the Raven. Somebody mentioned that one. That's a good dark ballad. The Unwanted, probably my second favorite. I love the epic vibe to it. The lyrics are great. Roaming a vast metallic earth. I mean, you get this, but then you just get these, cheap late 80s Whitesnake stuff like Squeeze It Dry that it really makes you wonder. And the only excuse I can think is that they get strong-armed by the label that basically says like, look, we'll put this out, but you got to give us two or three dumb hair metal song so that we can try to throw it against the wall and see if it's we'll let you do that priesty accept stuff, but you got to give us some hair metal in here so we can try to push it to the teenagers. So it's sort of a tale of two different identities between these first two records for me, but I think this one is just has a couple more songs that I like that fit into this sort of priest accept vein. So that's why in the beginning, and I like the production. I like things that are slightly more lo-fi, that have a little bit of it. And this certainly isn't lo-fi, but compared to the second record, the production's a little simpler on this one. And I like simple mid 80s productions. So in the beginning, lands at number one for me.
Cool. And yeah, that new song that I mentioned is not the same Malice. So apparently there's another band now called Malice. I guess because this Malice is no more, they decided to take the name. I don't know. It's kind of confusing. I wouldn't have done that personally if I were them, but hey, whatever. So forget all that discussion there. All right, Rich, over to you. Number one, License to Kill.
License to Kill. Yep. Was my introduction to the band. I do like the sleeker production, and I just think the songs are a little more focused, even though something like a Chain Gang Woman is a little more LA kind of a thing, but the rest of it, like I love Sinister Double. Great kickoff for the album. Against the Empire is perfect. Love License to Kill. It's got that simplicity with the riff. And John, you mentioned this. Lizzie Borden, that's what they kind of remind me of at that time for this record, especially License to Kill, the song. That great catchy riff, mid-tempo metal song. Love it. Murder is great. I like that a lot. Circle of Fire is also awesome. I think it's just a great record, great logo, great artwork. I think it's, really the complete package for this band for a sound and their identity at the time, It's cool.
Right on.
Sold nothing, but sadly. I mean, 87, right? That's when all this stuff is doing big business.
Yeah, 87. That EP came out the year after when they were in that movie. So it would have been perfect timing for a video, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't get it. It's kind of,
Part of the problem I think back in that era, when you think about when you used to walk into your local record and cassette store, I bought cassettes when I was that age, and there was only so much shelf space. So I used to tell people like for some reason I didn't get Iron Maiden Killers till like after I got Peace of Mind, and it was just because my local store for some reason didn't have it or didn't stock it. And you think, what? That's crazy. Well, but back then you only had this much. A big band like Iron Maiden maybe got a lot of space,
Yeah.
but they had to have a couple copies of the newest record and a couple copies of the. So when it came to bands like this, there was only so much shelf space. So, maybe they had one cassette inside that store, and it was hard to elbow your way in back then with no internet and stuff like that. The bigger bands ate up a lot of the space. And even though this is on a major label and you think that they would have the muscle and the money to push it, uh, I just think that some of these major labels looked at it like there's some guy, cigar chewing old guy that has no idea. I don't know what these kids are listening to, but I guess it's selling records. So somebody find me a band that sounds like, I don't know, what's that Queen something band from Seattle? Find me a band that kind of sounds like that, but it also sounds like Dokken. They don't really know. So some person just finds them, doesn't know what to do with it, just and they just sort of put it out and they throw it out there and they hope that somebody that it somehow catches fire. And these bigger labels, in some ways, they have so much disposable income that it's a tax write-off for them if the record doesn't do well. So they could afford for because they're making all their money off of Motley Crue or whoever other the big band that is selling tens of millions of records. They can afford to just have this disposable income. Let's just grab a whole bunch of bands. Let's see if any of them stick. We won't put too much thought into it, and if it doesn't, it didn't. Whereas with the smaller labels, they at least knew how to handle these bands, the Metal Blades and the Roadrunner, and those record labels, they at least understood metal and they knew what the market was. They knew how to push these bands. In some ways, it's almost a curse to be on a bigger label starting off during that era, unless you were an established band who had already released a couple records on a smaller label and then you had moved up. If you were like a newer band, it just seemed like so many of these bigger labels just never did anything with these bands, didn't know what to do with them, didn't handle them the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they felt, well, there's a handful of them that are doing big business. Let's just sign as many of them as we possibly
Yeah.
can and hope that it'll, one or two of them will catch on and do big business. But meanwhile, if you're not promoting any of them, who's going to find this stuff? Who's going to know about
Uh,
it? To Rich's point, there's no videos. They didn't get many money to make videos, right? So even if there are
Yeah.
some songs on these first two records that could have been hits and could have, appealed to people watching MTV, they didn't do it.
How did they not make a video for Chain Gang Woman? I mean, come on,
Hey,
that writes
yeah,
itself.
yeah,
But somehow they got into a movie though. Figure that out. So somebody
yeah.
was doing
So
something
right. So
on
how did
their
that
behalf,
happen,
right?
right? Yeah,
They got in a movie, yeah.
yeah. Crazy. All right, Joe, you're number one.
Yeah, my number one obviously is License to Kill. Again, I got the cutout. Talked about that last time.
See that? Yep.
I'm not sure how much I paid for this one. There's no sticker on it, but it couldn't have been more than $2.99.
Wasn't that usually the max for a cutout? It was like 2.99 and under, right? For
Yeah.
the most part? Yeah.
Yeah, well, the first album was $3.99. I don't know why. Maybe
Oh,
it was still it's a fresh album. Maybe they didn't discount it yet, but yeah, as I discussed earlier, I picked this mainly for the production value than anything else over in the beginning, and it suffers the same fate as the first one. It's got a mixture of, like everybody said, classic type metal tunes and LA type metal tunes, and I think that takes away from it. I think it was another one of Malice's big problems. Their songwriting was never tip top. You know what I mean? There's some decent songs, decent memorable songs, but I think that was one of their downfalls. The songwriting was just okay, you know. And oddly enough, on this album, I heard a couple guys mention "License to Kill" and "Chain Gang Woman." Those are two of the more LA hair metal type songs. And I think songwriting wise, those are two of the best songs on the album. Those are two of the more memorable songs.
you're very memorable.
Maybe they should have went that way. Maybe
Mm.
they should have steered towards the LA hair metal scene, because I think those are more memorable songs. Um, I think Chain Gang Woman, somebody mentioned Dokken. Chain Gang Woman kind of reminds me of a Dokken tune, actually.
Mm.
You know, um, And License to Kill is kind of Skid Rowish, but there's some great tunes on this album too. Sinister Double, I think, is a great tune. Um, Christine was okay. Breathing Down Your Neck doesn't do anything for me at all. Circle of Fire is pretty good. Again, it's um, got great points on the album, and then some Um, but really, it's the production more than anything that put it above In the Beginning for me. But it's a good album. Just spotty, I guess we'll say. You know,
Cool.
that's how I see it. But I love James Neal's voice. I think that's really what initially hooked me onto these guys. His voice is fantastic, and
Yeah.
the sounds, the great guitar sounds, and they're great players. It's just some of the songs kind of go in one ear and out the other for me. You know.
I think as if you're a new listener to this band, that's the first two things you hear are the guitars and that voice because they're
Mhm.
pretty special. The
Yeah.
guitars sound massive on both of these albums, and he's just a really really good singer. It's perplexing that we just looked it up and that he's did nothing after this. So very
Yeah.
strange, but hey,
And
whatever.
on License to Kill, it doesn't sound so much like Halford either.
No, no, but he still sounds really good. You know,
Yeah.
he's got
Oh,
high
yeah, totally.
abilities. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that first album, he's definitely. I mean, to me, and that's my pick for number one. I really like In the Beginning a lot. It's a very much a Screaming for Vengeance era Judas Priest
Yeah.
sound for me, at least on
Mhm.
most of the tracks here. Uh, I love the production on the album again, whether it's Michael Wagner or Ashley Holt, because I know they kind of split the album. I think it all sounds really good. Rocking with You kicks ass. I really like Into the Ground. I think James Neal's vocals are off the charts throughout the whole thing. Air Attack is just crushing. That could be like a long lost Judas Priest song. I hear that and I just think
Yeah.
sounds like Priest from that era.
Yeah.
I love the big wall of heavy guitars on Stellar Masters, another great track. Tarot Dealer's really good. Squeeze It Dry. That to me, that gives you a hint of what's to come on the second album. That's kind of more of that kind of like LA sound there. I don't mind it. It's pretty catchy. Hellrider kicks total ass. You know, Rich, I was listening to Hellrider this morning again, and I'm thinking it sounds to me like Primal Fear might have been listening to this band as well. I know both bands are influenced by Priest, but I'm like I hear Hellrider and I think Primal Fear. It just sounds
Yeah.
totally like their sort of thing. And No Haven for the Raven is just great. I love that kind of moody, slow build of that stuff. That song kind of reminds me of like Beyond the Realms of Death or something like that. Very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
And Gods of Thunder is terrific. I mean,
Yeah.
that could be like their underrated like heavy metal classic gem from these first two albums. I think it's just the riffs are just colossal. I just really like it a lot. So I really dig this. I mean, I like both of these albums a lot, but I think for me, I like this one a little bit more. I like the more Priest style for them, even though I agree maybe some of the songs could use a little better. I think the choruses are better on the second album overall, but I like the raw intensity of the first album a little bit more. So good stuff though.
Wow.
Good band. Deserve better, I
Yeah.
think. If there's a moral for the story here, I think that Malice should have been a band that kind of stuck around for a bit, and if they got more support from the label, maybe
Yeah.
most people would know who they were. But
Take the best songs from those first two records,
Absolutely.
get rid of the LA stuff, and you have a killer like 80s trad metal, early power, metal
yeah,
type of record. That would be, a classic. Like we'd all be sitting here like, wow, it
Yeah.
would be really, really
and
great.
take the more LA style stuff,
Yeah, and
them
put
on an
that on a
album,
record.
add a few more
Yeah.
tracks, and promote the thing, and then all of
Yeah.
a sudden you maybe have another big band
One or
from
the
Yeah.
other. Yeah.
Yeah, you have a
right?
great bluesy
So
rock
maybe
and like
that's the issue then. It's like they were trying to be two different things at the same
Yeah.
time, and it didn't really catch on with either audience.
That's what I said in the beginning. They suffered an identity
Yeah,
crisis.
that could very well
It's
be.
funny too what John said about maybe not a major label not being great for a new band coming up. It's funny thing is they were on the first Metal Massacre, Metal Blades, Metal
Yeah, you're right.
Massacre.
I forgot to mention that. They
Were
were the
They might
they?
have
very
been they
first
might have been
ones.
better off on
Yeah.
label like Metal Blade would have steered them more towards the heavier side of things. Who knows?
Yeah, yeah. Well, could have been, right?
Hmm.
So I just want to kind of throw it out there because we mentioned both bands in this episode. We are at some point this year, I'm hoping, we plan on doing a Hellstar and a Vicious Rumors ranking, but they both have new albums coming out at some point in the not too distant future. So we're going to wait on that. Kind of like what we do the opposite of what we just did do with Honeymoon Suite, where we did the ranking and they have a new album coming out in like a month. We're gonna wait on these ones because they're sizable catalogs anyway. So that'll be coming up at some point once we get more info on the new releases. So So till then, Joe, why don't you get us caught up on what's going on with you? You've been playing some shows with Liege Lord. How did those all go? I think last time we spoke, you were in the ready to do another one. So how did that go?
Yeah, they've been going good. They don't have anything now until we're doing a small metal festival in Brooklyn in
That's
August
right. That's coming
31st, I
up.
think.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I think some other good bands on there. Jack Panzer. I think Hellstar might be on the day before us. A lot of those
Mhm.
types of bands. It's a smaller festival, but it's cool. And we might do a local Connecticut show here as kind of as a warm up the night before, or 2 nights before, something like that. And as far as Wither and Scorn, I just mentioned we're right smack in the middle of mixing, and it's coming out really good. Sounds great. Glenn is producing it himself, and he's really good. Um,
Anything
and
with the
that,
Drover brothers is going to be good, right? Yeah.
what's that?
Anything with the Drover brothers has got to be good.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we're smack in the middle of that, and otherwise, I'm kind of quiet right now. So
Okay.
it's
What's the
good.
date of the metal festival in Brooklyn again?
30. Oh, we're playing the 31st, which is the Sunday. And then I think it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and we're co-headlining the Sunday with Jack Panzer.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah,
Awesome. Sounds good.
I'll
So
send you a link to it.
okay, cool. Yeah, that'd be awesome. John, what's going on over at the Lair of the Alchemist? Anything?
Same old thing there, talking all things heavy metal and hard rock. Got my podcast kicked into teeth, an AC/DC podcast with Martin, Into the Void, a Black Sabbath podcast. Do with my buddy Darren. Told you guys earlier I saw Metallica last night. If they come into your town, definitely check it out. I also forgot to tell you guys I was at the Maryland Death Fest, and who did I see but Steven Keeler from Rock Fantasy? I wasn't expecting to see him, so I sort of saw this guy and went, "Hey, that guy kind of looks like Steven," and then he walked up to me, and I was like, "Wow, it's you." So that was kind of fun to meet some of the Sea of Tranquility people in real life there,
Yeah, a
but.
bunch of there. Chris Allo was there.
Yeah, I heard he was. I didn't see him though.
Franco,
Yeah,
Ryan Scather. I think they were all there, if I remember
yeah,
correctly. Karen
yeah,
LaPresiosa was there. So yeah,
that
we
was
were
fun.
represented at Maryland Death Fest.
Nice.
What was your favorite band? Did you stay for the whole weekend?
Yeah, I'm a big doom metal fan, so they had a bunch of funeral doom bands. I guess apparently like every year they'll sometimes take like a genre and they'll do like one day will be that. So Thursday they had this band from Finland called Skepticism, which is I mean this is an acquired taste. This is really slow. It's guitar, no bass player, but a guy playing like a church organ type of thing, slow, dirgy, doom. But who else was on the bill? Hyrax was there. Orange Goblin, their stoner metal band. Yeah, it was a cool.
That
They've
was the
got a really
Triptychon
nice
set.
setup, two outdoor stages, two clubs, and they're all. Yeah, it's all like right in the same kind of area. So it was just a fun weekend. You hear a lot of bands you've never heard before and stuff like that. So you discover some bands. They have a lot of merchandise, tents set up, probably 30, 40 merchandise tents. So that's fun, looking for records and CDs and stuff like t-shirts and stuff like that. So it's a fun weekend. I recommend it for people. I mean, it leans to the extreme side. There's not much traditional metal, really. I mean, sometimes you get a few bands in there, but pretty much everything leans to the extreme side, one way or another. But yeah, it's a fun festival.
I
I
think
was
there's a Maryland Doom Fest too, a
Yeah,
separate.
that's actually, if it's not this weekend, it's only like 2 weekends after Maryland Death Fest, and
I
that takes
understand.
place in a more of a smaller club.
Yeah,
But
I
I've
understand
done
it's the last one too.
Oh, is it really? Oh,
That's
that's
what
a
I heard.
bummer. Yeah,
Yeah,
because it's a pretty cool thing that they do there. And Maryland is, if people don't know out there, Maryland has kind of a doom history.
yeah.
Pentagram is from that area, roughly. The Obsessed with Wino is from that area. There's a bunch of bands that all signed to, I forgot, Brain Ticket, I think was the name of the record label, that scooped up a bunch of these Maryland bands doing kind of a doom thing. The Obsessed, Unorthodox. So they have a little bit of a scene there. So that's disappointing to hear that they're not going to continue with that
I think I
festival.
read
That's a,
that. Yeah.
it's a bummer.
I was Triptychon. I think didn't they play it
Oh
all?
yeah, I forgot them. Yeah, Triptychon. They did a set one night of Triptychon stuff, and then the second night they did a Celtic Frost set. So yeah, they were great. I mean, the Celtic Frost set I was really looking forward to. So yeah, that was really cool. A cool part of the experience.
Cool. Rich, what's going on over at Brave Words and Metal Asylum? Anything you got popping over there?
Yeah, a couple vinyl reissues I'm doing for Brave Words. Dream Theater Volume 2 came out with those records from like 6 Degrees of Turbulence and Train of Thought and a couple of others that came after.
Good stuff.
Yeah, Slaughter's Revolution got reissued and the first Angel album, so I'm working on those two. And what else? The Triumph tribute. Did you see that there's a Triumph like All
Yeah,
Star
I've been
tribute
reading
of all
about that.
those
Yeah.
songs? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was sent to me. I'm working on that for Brave Words too. Probably this weekend I'll get it done because that's high priority right now. So a
Cool.
lot of good guests, a lot of great singers, a lot of great musicians doing those songs. So
I saw that.
yeah,
Yeah, Triumph's been in the news of late, right? They're
yeah,
putting
they're
Yeah.
doing
a little
something for
set
like
at the
a
hockey game or something.
hockey game. Yeah, and they're getting together playing a couple songs. So
I
Yeah.
see Phil X is involved in that too. So both Rick and Phil. That's kind of I didn't
Yeah.
expect that at all.
awesome.
Phil's pretty stoked about it. He's like, I think he's pretty.
Yeah, I saw a picture of him with Rick, and he was like, "I can't believe it. I'm here with." They're one of those bands that I would like to see come back. And I mean, certainly they were popular, they had their thing, but they sometimes I kind of feel like they never got the respect that they kind of maybe deserved a little bit. You know what I mean? And I would
Mhm.
like to see them come back and maybe play some shows and see that there's a lot of people out there that like them. And I think that they do have a following and. Rick Emmett's an amazing guitar player. He's an amazing guy. I can imagine the people like they hear there's a compilation coming or a tribute album for
Yeah.
Triumph coming out, and all the singers out there in the world like, I want to do this, but I don't want to do it. I hope they don't call me because I don't want to have to try to sing
Yeah.
that stuff. Man,
Yeah.
he's got one of those voices. It's just
Oh, Rick's voice is great. Yeah.
oh, it's incredible.
I heard the Sebastian Bach song already, and it sounds great.
I can see him pulling that
He
off.
does a
He's
great job.
he's got, but isn't like D. Schneider on it? I thought I
He's on
saw.
one, and I haven't heard that one yet. That's my work today. I gotta listen to this album.
Yeah, I'm
Really
curious
cool.
to hear how some of those people pull off. It's like Rush. How do you
Uh-huh.
pull off Geddy Lee's vocals? But Rick Emmett is the same way, man. If maybe even more,
Yeah.
maybe even harder than Geddy.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing that as well. I always like Triumph. Great band.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Great
So many
band.
good
Yeah.
songs.
Got to see him many times back in the day, which was cool. So, all right, that's a wrap, everybody, for Kira just popped into the picture here. For ranking the albums today, if you are familiar with the music of Malice, rank them as you like them down in the comments below. And if you've never heard these records before, I highly recommend you do so, especially the first two. You can go stream them online. Get the Rock Candy reissues. These are fantastic. Like I said, it's just they sound great. All sorts of information in the booklets. Nice presentation there. So yeah. And I want to thank John, Rich, and Joe for joining me here today. And we'll see you next week here on Ranking the Albums. I don't quite know exactly what that's going to be yet, but we'll know in the next day or two. For all of you who want to know ahead of time, I will make sure to let you know. So thanks for watching and visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube all together all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as a post. And please do hit the like button before you leave. For John Gaffney, Rich Catino, and Joe DiBiase, I am Pete Pardo. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. See you on Tuesday for In the Prog Seat. Till then, take care. Bye bye.
Thanks, guys.